Hello, you lovely lot. I hope you are all doing really well and are ready to answer this week's big question. But hold the phone, hold your horses, because first we need to do our do now. So let me just share the screen with you. So, as usual on a Thursday, we have 5 events from the text that we have been looking at this week. What text have we been looking at this week? Of course, it's I was a rat. And there are 5 events that have occurred in chapter 1. All you guys need to do is put those in the correct chronological order. So putting them in order from when they happened. Number 1 being the first event to happen, and number 5, of course, being the last event to happen. So pause the video now, and if you can write out these statements and just put the correct number next to them. Off you go. So hopefully that's given you a chance to go through those events and put those in the right order. Let's see how you did. If you can grab a different color pen or pencil and mark these as we go along, that would be fantastic. So let's have a look. So of course, the very first thing that happens, the boy stood in the moonlight, number 1. Number 2, the boy was confused by his uniform. Number 3, the boy put his face into his food. Number 4, Joan washes the boy's face. I wonder why she needed to do that. And number 5, the boy kept turning the spoon upside down. So make sure you've marked those, and we will look now at this week's Big EQ, this week's big question. And it is, do you think Bob and Joan should adopt the page boy? So, interesting question. Do you think Bob and Joan should adopt the page boy? Now, before we even look at the evidence, I want you to have a think and a vote on what you think. So, put your hands up if you think that Bob and Joan should adopt the page boy. Okay, and put your hands up if you think Bob and Joan should not adopt the page boy. Interesting. Excellent. Okay, you can pop your hands down. So we're going to see whether that opinion changes when we look through the text and gather some evidence for either side. Now, before we do that, what I would like you to do, please, is can you write on the top of your page the big question, do you think Bob and Joan should adopt the page boy? And then can you split your page right down the middle using a ruler if you have one, and with yes on one side and no on the other. They don't need to be different colors. I've just done those because it just makes it nice and clear. So if you can please draw your table and as well as your date and title, that would be fantastic. Okay, pause the video now, and once you have split your page down the middle, you can resume. Off you go. So hopefully you've got a beautifully drawn table just like mine. Now what we're going to do is go through the text together and see how, what information we can gather. So any facts that we think, yes, Bob and Joan should adopt the page boy, we'll put on the yes side, and if we think evidence for no, we'll put on that side. So let's go through. Old Bob and his wife Joan lived by the market in the house where his father and grandfather and great-grandfather had lived before him. Cobblers, all of them, and cobbling was Bob's trade too. Can we remember what a cobbler is? I have mentioned it a couple of times. It's someone that makes shoes or fixes shoes as well. Joan was a washerwoman, like her mother and her grandmother and her great-grandmother, far back as anyone could remember. And if they'd had a son, he would have become a cobbler in his turn. And if they'd had a daughter, she would have learnt the laundry trade. And so the world would have gone on. But they never had a child, whether boy or girl. And now they were getting old, it seemed less and less likely that they ever would, much as they would have liked to. One evening, as old Joan wrote a letter to her niece, and old Bob started trimming the heels of a pair. Okay, and we will leave that for the moment. So we've looked at the first page. Now, are there any facts there for yes or no, whether Bob and Joan should adopt the boy? So I think there's definitely a really obvious one in the center of the page here. So it says about having a boy or girl as much as they would have liked to. So they've never managed to have a child, but they would definitely have liked to. So that has surely got to be on the yes side. So under yes, I'm going to put some quote marks here, and write much as they would have liked to. And then I'll just explain that point as well. Never had a child. But wish they had. Okay, so we've got one fact there, so that they never were able to have a child, but they would have wanted one. So that's definitely a yes. Can we think of any more for yes or any more for no? I don't think there are any more there. Maybe you could. There are some others that you could argue, but I think we'll leave it for that moment. So let's go over to the next page. So make sure you are reading through this, reading through it with me, and then when we get to the bottom of the page, we'll collect some more facts. So he was repairing a pair of tiny scarlet slippers he was making for the love of it, and there came a knock at the door. Bob looked up with a jump. "Was that someone knocking?" he said. "What's the time?" The cuckoo clock answered him before Joan could. 10 o'clock. As soon as it had finished cuckooing, there came another knock, louder than before. Bob lit a candle and went through the dark shop to unlock the front door. Standing in the moonlight was a little boy in a page's uniform. It had once been smart, but it was sorely torn and stained, and the boy's face was scratched and grubby. "Bless my soul," said Bob. "Who are you?" "I was a rat," said the little boy. "What did you say?" said Joan, crowding in behind her husband. "I was a rat," said the little boy again. "You were? Go on with you. Where do you live?" she said. "What's your name?" But the little boy could only say, "I was a rat." The old couple took him into the kitchen because and we'll finish that sentence a little later on. So, now that I've read through that page, I'd like you to pause the video, and just on this page, just on page 8, can you collect any facts for either yes or no? And then once you resume, we'll go through a couple and see if we got the same ones. Off you go. So hopefully you managed to gather a couple of facts, maybe for both sides would be really, really good. So the ones that I saw, that I thought would definitely go on here, it says that his clothes were sorely torn and stained, and that his face was scratched and grubby as well. So what does that tell you? So that shows that the boy is really in need. It shows that he's certainly not in a kind of sort of loving home at the moment. He doesn't have anywhere to live, and that he can definitely needs the help. So I'm going to put under the yes side, the boy needs, I'd say the boy needs help, and then I'll also put in quotes, scratched. There are a couple of I could do here. Scratched and grubby. Now, I could also, is there a way that you could say, if he's scratched and grubby, could that be on the no side as well? How would you put it on the no side, potentially? So, if if someone comes to your door and they're scratched and grubby with ripped clothes and everything, I might say that that's on the no side, because they could be potentially dangerous. They could maybe be carrying a disease, you don't know. So, I might put in here, the boy might be dangerous. And you could say that because he has ripped clothes, he's grubby, so you never know where he's actually come from. Also, I think there's another big one on the no side. Why would him saying, "I was a rat," be on the no side? And that being the only thing that he's saying. He just says, "I was a rat, I was a rat, I was a rat." So, I'd say if a boy keeps repeating "I was a rat" and isn't really able to say anything else, I would say that this person probably isn't very mentally stable, and probably isn't the right kind of person to be adopting at this stage. So I might say potentially mentally unstable. And perhaps it would be better to call a hospital or maybe child services or something like that rather than adopting him themselves, because he's potentially unstable. And I'll just put in quotes there, "I was a rat." So we've got a couple of answers for yes, a couple of answers for no as well. What I'd like you to do, can you go through the final 3 or 4 pages, I think it is. Yeah, 3 pages. And just do as I have done here and collect as many ideas as you can for the yes and as many ideas for the no side, so that your table is brimming with ideas. Okay, so go through the text, complete the yes and the no sides so that you've got, I'd say, a minimum of 5 on each. I think you can do. Already got 2 there on each side to help you. So pause the video now and can you go through pages 9, 10, 11 and fill in your table. Off you go. So hopefully that's given you a chance to fill in your table, and it is hopefully brimming with fantastic ideas. So we're going to go over to my my presentation here, and let's have a look at some of the answers that I put. So if there are any here that you quite like the look of, and you'd like to pause the video and fill in some more answers on your table, that's absolutely fine. So for yes, they should adopt the boy. They didn't have their own child, and it was less and less likely they would have one. We said that. The boy needs someone to look after him, definitely. Joan made him dinner and washed his face, which shows that she wanted to look after him. They liked him because Bob is nice to him, and he says, of course he was good at being a page boy, so he's very polite. And the boy tries his best to use cutlery and was a quick learner, which I think is definitely the case. He learns how to use cutlery and how to he learns his manners quite quickly as well. So those are some facts I got for yes, although there were definitely some more as well. And then for no, the boy is a bit strange as he says, "I was a rat," which makes no sense. He doesn't have good manners as he guzzles down his food and doesn't use cutlery at first. The boy doesn't trust Bob because he thinks Bob might eat his dinner. He rudely doesn't say thank you when he's given his dinner, and the boy seems like he's lying because he says he's only 3 weeks old, and he looks a lot older than that. So, as I said, if there are any facts that you didn't get here that you'd like to fill in, you can pause the video. And I would now like to take the vote again. At the start of the lesson, I asked you to vote whether you thought they should adopt the page boy or not. Now that you've actually got the evidence and the facts, let's see if your opinion has stayed the same or changed. So again, put your hand up if you think that Bob and Joan should adopt the page boy. And put your hands up if you think they shouldn't. Interesting. So some people changing their opinions, which is a good thing because you're letting the influence, the evidence influence you rather than just what you first thought. So let's have a look at my big question response. In my opinion, I think Bob and Joan should adopt the page boy because in the text it states, it should be it states, they never had a child, and it seemed less and less likely that they would ever would, much as they would have liked to, which tells us that they really wanted a child, so by adopting him, they could. On top of this, Joan made him dinner and washed his face, which tells us that she wanted to look after him. Moreover, when Bob showed the boy how to use a spoon, the boy tried his best and showed he was a quick learner, which tells us he is willing to change and learn good manners. However, looking at the other point of view, maybe Bob shouldn't adopt the boy because, and that's when you give the other side of the argument. So we're getting quite used to writing some great big questions. Every week I see a fantastic load of responses. So in red, we have the fronted adverbials and the sentence starters that are really, really useful to use. And in black, we've got some quotes. And as I say every week, don't throw loads and loads of quotes in, because it can sort of weigh down your argument a bit and makes it a bit too much. You just want to use the odd one, maybe 2 or 3 in your question, in your response, sorry. It can really strengthen your argument because it shows that you've read the text and that you've got a really strong, as I like to call them, golden nugget that sort of backs up your argument. So I'm going to leave this in front of me. I've also got a list of vocabulary that you might find useful. So if at any point you'd like to go back to the video to this at this point to collect some different fronted adverbials or some nice sentence starters, then you absolutely can. So you can always wind back the video a few seconds and pause it on here if you'd like to know how to start your answer with different phrases. So I'll leave my big question on here, ladies and gentlemen. Best of luck. Pause the video now and resume it once you have finished. Off you go. So guys, hopefully that has given you enough time to write a wonderful big question response. I'm so looking forward to reading these. I'm just going to close my screen right now. There we go. So best of luck with this, guys. I can't wait to see these uploads on Seesaw. And of course, you will have Miss Franklin for reading tomorrow, but very much look forward to seeing you next week for a brand new text that will be starting on Monday. Right, guys, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.